A one, two, a one, two. I'd like to introduce myself. Shout out to Biz. Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'd like to thank everybody who's checking in with us on a Friday. It's summertime. You could be anywhere in the world, but you are here at the Kenny Parker Show. Big up to the ER, the early regular crew. I see y'all have a lot going on, so I'm gonna have to check that out. Um, Spook Round 4Q, you are first in the building today. Um, so let's do the PSA. Rule number one, get the book. My brother's name is Kenny. The link is in the description below. If you want to find out what the book is all about and be brief today, check out the link in the description below. Get it if you don't have it. Get the audio book. Cool. Rule number two, please hit the thumbs up when you get a chance. It helps the algorithm so we can get more like-minded people in the chat. And rule number three, big up to the massive, mighty Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. Okay. Now, let me make this a little bit bigger so I can see. Rod Justice, what up? B-Bull Joneson, what up? This is a good one, Rod Justice. Today in hip hop history, Boogie Down Productions released their fourth album, Edutainment, on July 17th, 1990. I didn't realize the album came out that far into the summertime, July 17th. I remember we did Arsenio earlier, like June maybe. The single Love's Gonna Get You, I believe, was out with the Kenny Parker Show on the back. I did a whole breakdown of that 12-inch on this channel about a couple years ago. So you guys, if you want to see it, go back and check it out. I remember we were recording Edutainment right up until we went to Europe. We came back in like March. So April, May, we were recording. And it came out July 17th. So I guess we were recording right up until it was time to come out. There's a song called Seven DJs. I believe we did that song late, like May. Yeah. I'm trying to think of my recollections of Edutainment. There's a lot. I mean, we could do a whole hour just on Edutainment. But big up to the Edutainer crew. There was an Edutainer crew. Jamal Ski, Heather B, Kevin Batchelor. Who else was in the Edutainer crew at that point? Harmony, of course. These are all the people that were new. Some of the other members of BDP that was on Ghetto Music and By All Means Necessary were gone. So it was new people. Big up to Security Benji. Benji has since passed away. Big up to Benji. Security, we had a few security. We had Benji, we had Ron. Shout out to our road manager, Dave. There's a lot going on at that time because the live album was about to come out. It was already done, and I think it was about to come out a little while later. That was a really, really hectic time. I remember I just became the DJ like months earlier, and we was just doing so much stuff. But 1990, that's 36 years ago. Damn. I should pick like an album, that a BDP album, and just do a whole day on like a whole like segment on just that album, what I remember. That would be dope. Gregory Nettis, what up? Says R.I.P. to Hal Williams. Smithy from the legendary sitcoms. Yeah, I saw that he passed away. He was 91, man. You can get 91 years off on this earth. That is fantastic. He appeared in quite a few TV shows, but he was best known, I think, for 227. Um, Shout out to Regina King, whom I met. She was at one of our shows back in around this time of edutainment. Met her in the dressing room. All right, let me move on because I'm falling behind, of course. Um, uh, Yo, Kenny, Colin Kaepernick, Byron Allen, and Tyler Perry to pay for the Nolan Wells funeral autopsy and a GoFundMe for those three brothers are doing a good job. Respect. Yeah, that's a real controversial case right now, trying to figure out what happened with that young boy. It's all in the news right now. He went in a party, a fishing party with his friends. Not fishing, it was a party. They went on some boats, and supposedly no one knows what happened to him late at night, but he ended up being ended and them finding his body. It's a whole thing. And now they suspect foul play. And of course, Al Sharpton is now in it. The lawyer Crump is in it. But big up to Tyler Perry and them for paying the funeral and getting a proper autopsy so we can see what's going on. But that's one of those stay tuned cases. Um, Also, Greg Gannett said, yo, Ken, did you see that a Caitlin Clark fan was fired from his job for calling the Aces Chelsea Gray the N-word? Yeah, I saw that. He worked for Hilton Hotel. Racist people can't keep their racism to themselves. I'm down with people having their real names on social media. I think you have the right to say whatever you want to say. There's freedom of speech in this country. But I don't think you should be able to hide by an alias when you come online and say certain things. I think your name should be out there, just like it is on Instagram or Facebook. And you come on Twitter and say, Twitter is a cesspool. And I keep saying I'm going to stop. I don't really post on Twitter hardly ever. But I go on there to get information because the information that you need is up to date on X, whatever it's called now. But you have to sift through a cesspool of the worst of humankind just to get the information that you need. And this guy was on there calling Chelsea Gray a perennial all-star and champion, WNBA multiple champion, Chelsea Gray, the N-word, because she got into not really into nothing, but a little what was an offensive foul call or a block charge foul call with Caitlin Clark. Something that simple as a block and a charge. Which one is it? A simple basketball play caused a whole backlash to Chelsea Gray for no reason. And they caught this guy calling her, he called her more than the N-word. They caught him and he got fired. So I'm pretty sure he's probably going to come with a lawsuit saying he has freedom of speech, but we're going to see how that turns out. Racism is so bad, y'all. I'm not going to rant today like I did on Tuesday, but it's the worst, one of the worst human experiences. One thing that a human can do to another, dating back thousands of years to the beginning. But yes, I did see that. And Caitlin Clark is a fantastic basketball player, but she just brought a whole slew of just racist people into the league viewership wise, and it's bad, man, as a person who watches basketball. People Jones says, KP, I have a regular concert to go to, so I'll be bouncing out a little early tonight. Dope. Handle your business, man. It's summertime, man. You're supposed to be outside. I'm very grateful for everybody that's here. LeBron still hasn't made his announcement yet. See, this is the circus that people be talking about. And then he had the nerve yesterday to say, I think it was on punk ass Halliburton's podcast, that he already knows where he wants to go. And if you read the clues that's out there, you would know where he's going. That's such clown stuff. And that means he already knows where he wants to go. He's just holding it up for dramatic effect. And I read that Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, is saying to LeBron, you'll hurry up and make your decision because they're trying to set the schedule. And of course, advertisers are going to want to get, if this is possibly LeBron's last season, or if he goes to a team and becomes a big team, they're going to want to put more of LeBron's games on TV. So they want to find out, well, what team are you going to so we could adjust the national schedule. You know, this is becoming, even the commissioner of the NBA saying it's becoming ridiculous. Pick a team. What is he waiting for? He's waiting for his moment. I'm not a fan of all of that stuff, man. I'm super far behind. I'm just gonna jump down real quick. Cutie Pie, what's up? How are you feeling? Let's see. Jason Wall, what up? This is random. R.I.P. Keefe E. the Guru. Always R.I.P. the Guru on this channel. Silk Child. Always. My man KP, much love, bro. Friday. You already know. Like, share, support the brother. Gotta hear your brother jump on that curtain call, bro. Definitely need to hear him spit flame. Oh, the Big Daddy Kane curtain challenge. That's interesting. Riding Dirty Face, what up? Says today in hip hop history, BDP's edutainment dropped 36 years ago. Yeah, we just mentioned that, which is crazy. I might get into a little more of that as we move along. JT, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. KP, the latest salute to the sample has a whole piece on BDP. Word? LL gave big props to KRS. Greg Nice told a story of how the Bridge is Over was made. He was supposed to come on this channel and tell that story. And I asked him to, and he said, yeah, but then something happened and we never was able to do it. Not on my end, but Greg Nice's family, nice and smooth anyway. I'm glad LL bigged up Chris. I gotta watch that. Thank you, JT. That was a big. The Bridge is Over is one of them songs that changed the game, y'all. You know how I love to talk about changing the game. Latrice Washington, what up? Let me see if I can move quick now, get some shout outs in there. MK Ultra, what's going on? B-Boy says, KP, I saw the heel video for the first time in a long time. Forgot JMJ kicks a flow, super dope. Yeah, shout out to the heel video, which I was in. Sydney Rhodes, what up? PBB NYC, what up? Jason, well, Kenny, I asked Doc Ice about you, and he said you were hanging around Jive and were in the studios, I believe, when he was recording his solo album in '89. I used to see Doc Ice all the time. Matter of fact, he used to come by BDP sessions. I don't remember being in the studio with Doc Ice. Shout out to Doc Ice, who's a dope-ass dancer, by the way. Shout out to Doc Ice and his whole crew. He had a whole dancer crew that was dope. Shout out to UTFO. Jason Wall, if you get a chance, tell Doc Ice I said what up. Haven't spoken to him in decades. Super cool brother. Yeah, I was always lurking around, even before I was in the group, just coming to the studio, traveling with Chris. Wherever he was, I was there. In the studio, at the record company, live shows, of course, at his crib, lectures, anywhere where he was that I had a chance to go, I just went. So yeah, I was there. That's dope. Haven't seen Doc Ice in a long time. Daynell LaDon Freeman, what up? Samuel Gervais, what up? E Styles, what up? Humor. Who is the shortest person you ever saw dunk in person? What was his height? That's in game action? Probably somebody who probably was like 5'11". When I was in high school, my sophomore year, I believe, there was a big New York City basketball player. His name was Andre Irvin, with an I. Andre Irvin. He was one of the top basketball players in New York on the top team in the city, Alexander Hamilton. Um, he was 5'11" and could fly. I seen him catch a two-hand alley-oop dunk. They was playing against, I think they was playing against boys and girls. They was playing against Pearl Washington at Pratt Institute, and I was in the crowd watching this as a youngster. And I remember somebody was handling the ball, and they just threw an alley-oop. And so you're watching the ball in the air, you didn't know where it was going. And back in those days, the alley-oop was not a common play. If you threw an alley-oop and it didn't work, you was coming out the game. That was a risky play. And it's whoever somebody threw an alley-oop and it just went in the air. And I remember following the ball, and this kid, Andre Irvin, he's 5'11", caught it with two hands. Boom! Everybody went crazy. That's probably the shortest person I ever saw dunk. That's off the top of my head. He was 5'11", flying. Jeffrey Lawsuit, that's a ill name. Did you ever, why am I bumping this thing? Did you ever collect baseball cards? When I was in like 5th grade, when I was like 10, um, we used to collect baseball cards. Used to buy them in the morning, going to school. It was like a nickel. It came with like a hard ass piece of gum in the pack. I remember everybody was trying to get a Reggie Jackson or Dave Kingman from the Mets. Those were like the two baseball cards that everybody was trying to get. But we used to play with the cards. You ever play baseball cards just like how you play like Uno? Um, that was big. I used to do that when I was in 5th grade. You just brought back a crazy memory, bro. So my favorite card is a Yankee card. Yeah. I didn't even follow baseball like that back in the day. I just liked the cards. I like more of the the card game. But I remember when Reggie Jackson hit those 3 home runs in the World Series. I remember the two biggest sporting events of my young life that I can recall was in New York when Reggie Jackson hit those 3 home runs in one game. That was crazy everywhere. And Bruce Jenner in the 77 Olympics, I believe, was on the cover of that Wheaties box. I don't think people understand how gigantic Bruce Jenner was in the 70s, bro. He was like Tiger Woods or something. Jordan. Could you imagine years from now, LeBron James transitioning? How ill that would be? That's how Bruce Jenner is to me, being Caitlyn Jenner. Wild. Um, yeah, though. Let me move on. MMA Crossfire, what up? Dwight, what up? Uh, JT says 36 years ago. Where did the time go? This rant medallion is from the Edutainment album era. So that's 36 years old right there. Um, yes, Tracy says hit the like, fam, please. Thank you, Tracy, for reminding us. If you get a chance, can you remind us um later on? Love Tracy. She is such a regular. Big up to everybody who's here every week, man. The song The Kenny Parker Show was just on my playlist in the car. Why? That's my secret, baby. Yeah, that was ill. If you go back and watch the the breakdown. I had no idea he was going to name the song that. Funny story. Speaking of that, people have been asking me. I have a bunch of epic fails. Um, we're up to number 26, and people are always asking me, "Well, don't you have any epic wins?" And I'm like, A bunch, but I don't really like to like. That's almost like bragging to me, and that's not really my thing. But I'm gonna start a series called "For the Win." And I'm gonna tell you guys some stories. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm thinking of some stories that things went really well for me. Some of them I might have told on this channel before briefly, but I'm gonna go into more in depth about it. But I got a bunch of for the wins though, and I'm gonna tell you guys about it. I'm calling it for the win. BDP for the win. So it's BDP epic fails, and it's gonna be BDP for the win. And I'm gonna tell you guys some stories. And the first one I'm gonna tell you is a good one, I think. So we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna start working on those in the coming days. Also, if you guys see this logo right here, a lot of people have been asking me, saying they like it and stuff. So I'm gonna make some shirts out of this logo in the next coming couple weeks too. So if you guys want to pick one up, set that up. All right, let's move on. Humor says the song Beef on Entertainment, would KRS get mad if he caught anyone in BDP eating beef? First of all, beef changed my life hearing that song. Um, and I think that's one of KRS One's greatest songs. And I saw an interview with the Jizza, and he was talking about how that song changed his life too. Um, I wish that the songs, I remember we did Earth Day back in 1990. There's a big Earth Day festival. I don't know if they still do them, but we did Earth Day, and it's a whole celebration of Earth and protecting the environment, things like that. And before the Edutainment album dropped, so this had to be like April, we performed there, and Chris did Beef a cappella. Earth Day probably had it. It was this festival, so it had to be like 30, 40,000. He did the acapella to Beef at that Earth Day and brought the house down. And I was like, damn, Jive Records should really do more with this song. But like I always say, Jive dropped the ball on KRS One's career, in my opinion. But to answer your question, no. Chris never ever said to anybody in the crew, don't eat meat or eat whatever you want. He just said, this is what I'm doing. And after listening to that song Beef, I was convinced to stop eating red meat. I haven't had red meat since 89, 90, 1990. Um, but Willie D, Willie D of BDP, not of the Ghetto Boys, of BDP, rest in peace. He used to eat pork, bacon, sausages. I remember one time Chris was like, yo, Will, you're really the opposite of everything that I talk about in my records. I can see it right now because I always say to the child, Will was a real, what's the word? Lack of a better term, I want to use the word tough guy, or like street guy. He was like Paulie from Sopranos, you know, serious, but he had a sense of humor, smart guy. But like if you didn't know Will, he wasn't joking with you or nothing like that. And just like how Tony Soprano is the only one that could really get on Paulie's nerves, KRS Chris is the only one that could really go in on Will. And whenever Chris start going in on Will, it's the funniest thing ever. And Will be so mad. Yo, why you fucking with me, man? Why you fucking with me, man? I would be crying. I would literally have tears in my eyes watching them two go at it. Because for those people that don't know, KRS is really funny, man. I call him KRS. It's really Chris, but a lot of people don't know. We call him Chris. So I say Chris. He's really funny, and he just like the way he freestyles off the top of his head real quick. He has a lot of jokes off the top of his head, offbeat jokes. And he'll say something like that, like, "Yo, Will, you really are everything I talk against. Look at your hair, Will. You got all kind of S curl in your hair, all this jewelry on, eating pork. What?" He's like, "Do you even listen to the songs?" Oh, I used to be dying laughing. Leave me alone, Chris. Fuck out of here. Leave me alone. Anyway, I think that's funny. Y'all may not think it's funny, but I used to be dying laughing. I just went off on a tangent, but it just reminded me of some old time fun we used to have. Uh, I miss my dude Will, man. He was a real soldier. Like if you ever want to know like the definition of a soldier, that was Will. Um, an old interview, MJ said that he and Kobe had a one-on-one game held in an undisclosed location. Jordan said, "Yeah, he beat me using my own moves against me that he perfected." I've never seen that, but I've seen Jordan said if they asked him who to play one-on-one with people over the years and they were throwing out names, he would say, "I would beat everybody." He's like LeBron, all that. He said, "I'd beat everybody." He said, "The only person I couldn't beat is Kobe because he stole all my moves." That's what he said. Um, I would have loved to get more elaboration on that, though. I would like to hear Kobe's side of that, too. That's a dope comment, CMC. Rest in peace to the great Mamba. Um, Icon Poet. Entertainment was the moment I realized that a lot of our people want to hear ignorant shit. You know, I was just thinking that today. I was watching this interview. For those of you that saw my rant on Tuesday, um, I gave and I don't like to be like the guy who picks today's topic and just go in just to get clicks. That's why sometimes I don't even put what I talk about in the thumbnail because I don't want that clickbaity people to come in. If you're here, you're here. If you're not, you're not. But I gave my opinion of what I felt was the Jay-Z Target Colin Kaepernick situation and his freestyle and the whole thing. And I saw an interview today. I don't know how old it is. I think it's not that old with Memphis Bleak talking to a guy. And I'm just gonna say I don't know Memphis Bleak, never met him. But listening to how he talks, I know that he has to, I don't know if he has to. I know that he chooses to regurgitate a lot of the talking points that he thinks Jay-Z is presenting. But to listen to him talk today, I was watching some of the clips. His tone and his opinions really lead you to believe that some people just want ignorance and they just don't care about anything else. And that's cool. You don't have to be, there's no rule saying you have to be socially active or even care about anything that's going on. But these guys take it to another level because they be on some, not only don't I care, but I'm going to diss the people who did care before me. That's the problem that I have. You don't have to care about anything, but don't disrespect the people who bled for us, who are the reason why we could open our mouth and say and do stupid shit. Because of these people, whether you like it or not, they are the reason. Let me calm down now because I feel a rant coming on. But thank you. Yeah, you are so correct, icon poet. I'm super far behind, but Kenneth Smith, what up? Let's see if I can move quicker. I can't stand Mississippi. I'm sorry. Worst racist state in the U.S. Emmett Till. Yeah, well, it's that. That was the rock bed of the Confederacy and uh, Jim Crow and the Civil Rights Movement. Mississippi, Alabama was the two, among others, but those were the real strongholds. And that's why the Civil Rights Movement felt that if you can break Mississippi and Alabama, you can break the hold in the whole country, which was true. Buffalo Gal, salute. Haven't seen that name in a long time. Where you been? Caitlin Clark got the worst racist fan ever. I must concur. I must concur. And she doesn't seem like she's like that at all. She seems like a very nice girl and a fantastic basketball player. But she brought an element into the WNBA that really doesn't care about basketball. They like what she stands for, and it gives them an opportunity to diss the other people in the league. And the criticism that she's getting is that she's not saying anything to her fans. Um, and I don't know if she's just remaining neutral. I don't know if she's just not listening to any of it, because they say when you're an athlete, they used to say back in the day, if you're a professional athlete, never read the paper, because in the paper, there's people just killing you all the time, and it'll throw your whole mentality off. So just don't even read it. Now, I guess that applies to don't be on social media. If you're an athlete, stay off of social media. Don't read none of this stuff, because it'll mess you up. And so I don't know if she just tunes out social media, or she's just remaining neutral, or she agrees, but she's getting backlash for not saying anything. And maybe it's because, she doesn't want to lose her fan base. It could be that too. Because the minute she comes out and says, I appreciate you guys, probably like 2 million new followers that she comes with to the league, but I appreciate that, but some things can't be tolerated. The minute she says that, she's gonna lose a chunk of her fan base. Now the trick is, is she willing to stand up? And if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. I don't know. I don't know the girl. I enjoy watching her play, though. People say LeBron fan is worse. Nah, Caitlyn fans the worst. Caitlyn fans are worse than LeBron fans. LeBron fans aren't racist. They just think LeBron is the greatest player ever, and that's it. People love sports is crazy, and music, but you love and you fanaticize these people so much that you're blinded to anything other than what you think of them and their image. They have this saying, never meet your heroes. Because you'll be disappointed when you find out who they really are. Could be great singers, great athletes, but when you find out who they really are in real life, a lot of them will break your heart. And I've had my heart broken being around artists that I thought was one way and they're another way. One of my favorite basketball players ever, I got a chance to meet him. He was so dismissive. Couple of my favorite basketball players I got to meet, and they were so whack that it really kind of destroyed my childhood. I'm not gonna say their names. Maybe I'll say one. But I say all that to say, uh, LeBron fans are not racist. I don't think they're riding him so hard. Jesus. Um, have you ever told your brother to shoot more like behind the scenes footage? No, he has tons of footage over the years. First of all, he has a whole. When I was just in Europe with him a couple months ago, he has a whole camera crew following him, and they're shooting stuff for a project that he's working on. And Chris has tons of footage of things over the years. He just, first of all, he loses a lot of stuff. I've said this before. You ever had? We all have a friend back in the day that you just don't lend tapes to or CDs or anything because they're gonna lose it. You ever know that guy? Yo, let me hold that tape. Let me hold this. And you give it to him, and then where's the tape? Oh man, I lost it. Chris is that guy. Never give him a tape or anything because he's gonna misplace it for sure. But he has dope footage going back before I was in BDP. When I was in BDP, I wasn't the DJ. I was, for those that have the book, I was a production assistant. One of my jobs used to be to film. Some of the footage that's on the BDP Hardcore Live Worldwide, I filmed. Um, Footage from before I was the DJ that they added in. There, I filmed tons of stuff that's never seen the light of day. So to answer your question, do I ask him to shoot more? No, but the question is, he needs to go into his storage and dig up some of all of that old footage he has and put it out, man. Beyond the Matrix, I'm so thankful I grew up in the Michael Jordan era. Me too. But you know, some people will be like, I'm grateful I grew up in the 70s with Dr. J and them. And some people will be like, I'm glad I grew up in the LeBron era. Everybody has their own era. Um, I'm thankful I'm old enough to have seen a lot of basketball. So when I talk about basketball, I feel like I have a good grasp. Um, I didn't really see the 70s, even though I went back and studied a lot of footage, whatever's out there. I read a ton of books and stuff. I didn't see the 60s and 70s, obviously. I was too young, but I saw the 80s, 90s, and 2000s for sure. The way Shannon Sharp talks about LeBron is sickening. Yeah. That's why, you know, people are saying that Clutch Sports, which is LeBron's agency, which he's part of and owns, and they own a few people, led by his boy Rich Paul. People feel that some of these media outlets, media guys, are controlled by Clutch Sports, and they put out narratives that LeBron won't say it, but they put out narratives to either things that he think but can't say, or to diminish other people to make him look good. And Shannon Sharp is either the number one LeBron fan on earth or he's on the payroll. There's no other way around it. Rich Shot, what up? Um, how far behind am I? Super far behind. Uh, Let me just jump down a little bit. Do a Benny Doyle scroll down right now. Brunswick 4, what up? Marquis, KP, you had braids before? Never braids. I had like a little fade or like a Caesar. Um, Rich Shot said special ed's dancers, the Awesome Two were dope. The only Awesome Two I know is Teddy Ted and Special K, the DJs. Um, there were some dope dancers back in the day. Of course, Scoob and Scrap, who was down with Kane. I just saw Scoob Lover a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I was in Brooklyn 2 weeks ago, and I saw Scoob Lover, my brother, the barber. Shout out to him. Um, G-Rap had some dope dancers. I think they ended up coming out with a song too. G-Rap's dancers were dope. I'm gonna shout out BDP's break dancers, the Breeze team. That's later on in the 90s, but we had some dope breakers with us. The Breeze team was ridiculous. Um, I'm gonna shout out my good friends who danced with Queen Latifah. I'm gonna shout out Allison and Kika, the Safari sisters. Um, Shout out to Allison, that's my dog. I'm trying to think of some dope dancers. I did say Doc Ice and his crew. Shout out to Stretch. I think it was the IOU dancers. They used to dance in Latin quarters all the time. They was down. They was in the Bridges Over video in Union Square. The Bridges Over. I talk about Union Square and Latin quarters was the two most popular clubs in the mid '80s. The Bridges Over is the only video footage of Union Square, I believe, that exists. Any pictures or anything. The Bridges Over video was Union Square. And Stretch, who ended up dancing in Michael Jackson's video and all that, they were dope. Shout out to Big Les, who I keep saying I need to ask to come on this channel. That's my dog too, Big Les. Um, she's a dope dancer. There's been a few. Um, Let me move on. Let me move on. Um, Henry Cedillo, what up? Beyond the Matrix, what up? Jose Alvarado was chilling at the Dykeman Courts recently. Yeah, he's New York all the way. Shout out to him for being in the hood. I mean, he's hood. You could tell by his whole swagger that he's hood. But shout out to him for not being afraid to be around the people. Humor said we called the baseball card game flipping cards. I don't remember what we called it. Maybe it was. Buffalo Gal said the old package bubble gum in the cards alone is a flashback. Yeah. Um, that um it was so hard. Like you really had to yeah, I remember chewing it and looking at the cards. Good times, man. Beyond the mix with KP, when Reggie hit those home runs in the World Series, the son of Sam was wilding. 1977 was one of the wildest years in the history of New York and the history of America. At the same time going on in New York, hip hop was growing. By 77, you had Flash and them was rocking, and Zulu Nation and Rocksteady. Hip hop was actually formed like a Voltron around that time, I believe. So hip hop was brewing, punk rock was growing in the Lower East Side, disco was growing. These are all worldwide music movements was all growing at the same time in New York. The son of Sam was going, the 44 caliber killer was going around and had New York in a chokehold. We had the blackout of 77, which was crazy. For those that have the book, know what happened to us and my family during the blackout. Um, I remember real quick, I was talking to Kaz, shout out Grandmaster Kaz, and we was just talking about back in the day, and he brought up the blackout. I think I brought up the blackout, 77. I was a little ass kid. And he was like, yeah, I remember the blackout because I was outside battling this kid and we had the equipment plugged into the light poles. And while I was battling, everything just went out. And he said the music just went and stopped. And I was like, wait a minute, you was outside? Because like in my mind, I was such a little kid, I couldn't even conceive of being outside when the street lights came on. And I was like, damn, Kaz, you was outside? Because the lights went off like 10 o'clock, quarter to 10 at night in New York. And Kaz was outside battling somebody with turntables and the whole thing. I remember laughing at that. He was like, yeah, I was outside. What you talking about? I was like, my bad, Kaz. Being able to talk to Grandmaster Kaz like that is an epic win. I don't take these things for granted. Anyway, When will we get another BDP album? That's a KRS-One question. KP, I remember Bruce Jenner doing those Tropicana commercials. I don't remember the commercial. I just remember him being gigantic, man. Just gigantic. I was a little kid. I didn't even know. I didn't even know what the Olympics was until I heard about him. And then they like, this guy did all of this in this Olympics. Like, oh, there's something called the Olympics. Okay. I just know when you went to the store, his face was on the box. Um, LeBron James is nasty work. Yeah, it is, Swagger. Robot says, dude, I'm never going to be able to forget LeBron James transitioning. I know, right? I'm sorry I put that in anybody's head. But I was trying to show the magnitude of an athlete. Younger people now see him as Caitlyn Jenner, the father of, the Kardashian clan or whatever, the daughters. They don't understand just how big he was as a real athlete. But I'm sorry to anybody who's can't get that image out of the shirt. I mean, image out of their minds. City Rose says Kelly Parker Show T-shirts and hoodies by the winter would be dope. Yes, definitely before the winter, the next couple of weeks. Bobby keeps saying, when will we get another BDP album? That's Chris. He's the only one that can make that happen, man. Let's see. I'm sure every other person who's ever been associated with BDP would be down in a second to do new music. But it has to, if KRS is not in it, then, it ain't an album. Henry Cedillo at Kenny P, you should do a series breaking down the characteristics of different entertainers like you did Jay-Z and Charlamagne last live. Awesome. I mean, a lot of people, I don't have all the information. See, I'm talking about bits. See, first of all, a lot of entertainers I don't really follow like that. Things just come across my feed and I might stop and check it out. But I don't like speaking about things I don't know. But this Jay-Z and Charlamagne and stuff, that was something that I was checking out and I was passionate about. When you mean different entertainers, you'd have to like bring up a name. Plus, you got to be careful what you say on social media because people could take a little snippet of what you say and turn it into a whole beef. And I come from the school of if you're not willing to say something in somebody's face and stand up for what you say, don't say it at all. So, anybody who I've ever spoken about on this channel, I don't mean any disrespect, but they could step to me and I would have to deal with that. So I'm very aware, try to be aware of things that I say. Now, I don't mean no disrespect to Jay-Z. I would love to get more clarity on what he means by his freestyles. That's all I'm saying. I would like more clarity because how you presented it, I don't know, it just didn't seem like that was it. Like how he presented that whole situation didn't seem like the move to me. Who am I? Who am I? The girls, them sugar. Rich at KP, where do you rank Cheryl Miller in women's basketball? Top 3? No. She was great for her era, though. Cheryl Miller is one of the first women's basketball players I ever saw play. I can go into a whole history of women. I've been watching Cheryl Miller since she was a freshman at USC. I was once again a little ass. I was like a youngster. I couldn't believe women played basketball. So that's what made me start watching it. And then I saw her on TV. She was super advanced compared to everyone else. She was like 6'3", could dribble, shoot, move quick. She's like, most a 6'3" woman would be like a center back then. Well, they were slower, and they stayed in the post and they moved like a big. She was all over the place, very athletic. Um, she had her pull up jumper was like, I don't want to compare her to a guy, but she had like a dude's mechanics on her pull up jumper. She was dope. I think a young Cheryl Miller would have been good in the WNBA, but I think there's other players, like even at her position, she was like a small forward. I can name three small forwards right now, just that position that I would have over her. Candace Parker for sure. Brianna Stewart, Stewie for sure. She was very similar to Stewie though, but I'd have Stewie over her. I would have Maya Moore over her. I might have Cheryl Swoops over her. But at her for her time, so I would have needed to see her play like now, in the modern era. Um, I'm super far behind and I can't catch up. Um, who was stronger, Willie D or Freddie Fox? I have no idea. Freddie Fox is big though. Freddie Fox's physical build was bigger than Will's, but I wouldn't even. They were really good friends though. Mr. Boricua, what up? They were really good friends for sure. Every crew needs a Willie D. Not everyone will like him, but the crew get it. Yeah. Every crew needs soldiers like that. Um, who he reminds me of? Like who reminds me of like a real soldier? Tony Yayo. Don't know Tony Yayo, but he seems like a real loyal dude. Um, let's see. Proto says, "What's up, Ken? You need to get some BDP numbers on the show." Think you mean members? I have tried. Everybody is not. Everybody is not interested in being on social media. JT says, "Keep the Willie D stories coming, KP. Hilarious. I have so many Willie D stories, y'all. Y'all couldn't even imagine. You couldn't even imagine." Clarissa says, "Do you even listen to the songs?" Yeah, when Chris said that, yo, I remember one time Chris was going in on Will, of course, for the way Will present himself. And Chris was like, "You know what? You're not Willie D. You're Billy D." Yo, we was hollering. This is when the Colt 45 commercials was out. Will had the hair, and we was crying. It was so funny that Will, you had to laugh because it's just like your name shouldn't be Willie D. Your name should be Billy D. Oh my God, these kind of things. You're like a long ride in between shows, and everybody's just in the vehicles, just talking shit, and Chris will come out with something like that. Um, it, it, People just because nobody could really talk to Chris like that. Um, I mean, not Chris, Chris too, but Will. No one could talk to Will like that. I remember one time Will got mad at me for being too friendly with another group. I'm not going to say the name of the group, big rap group. We were all, it was some kind of show where they had like all of us riding to the show together. It was like a bunch of people on the bill. And it was BDP and this group on the bus together going from the hotel to the venue. And we rode there with them. And then we were coming back. And I'm going to shout out a dude named iGod. Rest in peace, iGod. Those that's from the Bronx know who I'm talking about. iGod passed away a few years ago. Another real serious street dude. Down with Zulu Nation. He was down with Tim Dog and all of them. He's from Webster Projects. iGod from Webster Projects. For those that know. He was with us. And I remember the joke was that, what made it funny was that we was doing the show and we had like 5 minutes left. And so the crowd was like wanting to hear a song we did. It was Jimmy. The whole crowd started going, the J, the I, the M, the N, the Y. Like they wanted to hear Jimmy, and they're like, it's Jimmy. And this is like, there's like 10,000 people there, and there's like 3,000 of them singing Jimmy. So I'm like, oh man, I gotta get Jimmy queued up. So I pulled the instrumental out and I had it on the turntable. And then Chris started going into this whole speech about some consciousness and how he was talking about the Black woman being a queen or a goddess or something like that. And then I'm like, damn, I can't throw Jimmy on after he just said all of this. It just doesn't go. So I pulled out something else, probably like, oh yeah, or something. It was something other than Jimmy. And I threw it on. And Chris, it was perfect for what he was saying. He did the song. And after the show, iGod is going, yo, the whole crowd is going, Jimmy, why you throw on, oh yeah, it was something like that. And everybody was laughing like, they going Jimmy, and you threw on something else, you was bugging. And the other group, big group, was on the bus too, and they all was laughing. Everybody was laughing. I was like, yo, I couldn't throw Jimmy on. Everybody was laughing. But Will and this other dude was sitting there, ice grill the whole time, just. And I remember we got off the bus. When we got off the bus, Will was like, yo, man, we can't be joking like that when we're around them other crews, man. You can't be joking like that. I'm like, yo, Will, first of all, your man, iGard, was the one that started the joke. Second of all, I know these dudes for this other group. I know them for a long time. I didn't see it as a problem. I just saw it as like a bunch of people having a good time. But Will was always in character. Like, you can't be laughing with these dudes because then they'll think something else and then it leads to something else. So I'm like, yo, Will. I was basically like, yo, we're not in Rikers Island right now, yo. We just on a bus coming back from a show. Relax. But that was his whole tone. Like, nobody's smiling like Rakim. So that's why when KRS with Chris goes in on him, it be so funny because you know he's in mode like he ain't smiling and Chris is killing him and we're all laughing. So I just started bringing up thinking about Willie D. I have a million Willie D stories. Um, Will would probably be mad if I brought this up right now. He'd be like, yo, man, why you tell that story? But anyway, I thought it was pertinent. Shout out to, rest in peace to Will, rest in peace to iGod. Shout out to this crew. If I told y'all the group who it was, y'all'd be shocked. But yeah, that was a good one for me. Isaiah, KP, you ever heard of basketball great Nate Tenney Archibald? I'm actually insulted by that question, Isaiah. But you know what? I always say on this channel, no question is out of bounds. We are here to share information. And so I will accept your question, but I'm insulted as I'm sitting here telling you that I've been watching women's basketball since 1982 when Cheryl Miller was a freshman. And you asked me about Nate Archibald. I played ball with Nate Archibald. Pick up basketball with Nate Archibald in an open gym right after he retired from the Celtics. So this was the summer of 84. I don't know when Archibald retired. He probably retired like 82 or 83. And this was like a year later. I was playing ball with him. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer and a top 50 player. Being voted to that top 50 NBA team is even bigger than being a Hall of Famer. Because the Hall of Fame is great, but there's probably 150, maybe more basketball players in the Hall of Fame, NBA players. But to be in that top 50 that they had the 50 years of the NBA, now there's a top 75, but to be in that top 50 means you were considered the best of the best of the best. And Archibald's in that top 50. So yes, I know exactly who Tiny Archibald is. And he's from the BX. He played high school in the ball in the BX. And he won a championship with Larry Bird. I watched all of those games. Crusher says, since you're a Cancer, Chris is a Leo, Scott a Pisces, Australia Aries, D Nice a Gemini. What was Willie D's zodiac sign? I can't remember when his birthday was. And Will never wanted nobody to know his age either. He would lie about his age and say he was like 10 years older than he was. For no reason. How old are you, Will? He wouldn't say. And if you get on, if everybody was 30, he'd be like, I'm 40 something. Like, why? I remember I met this girl and at the Apollo, and she was like, I went to high school with Willie D. And I was like, really? How old? What year? Like, I was all on top of it. I found out Will's real age. It was so funny. But anyway, there's a lot of Willie D conversation today. But if y'all understood, he was the backbone of the group. He was down with Chris from before South Bronx came out. And as you guys see in a lot of my epic fails and my beef stories, every video that I have that says KRS-One versus somebody else, a beef story, Will is right in the middle of every single one of those stories. He was right there. So that's why I talk about him, because people don't really know, they didn't know who he was like that, but people that was in the crew and the industry, they knew exactly who he was. Memphis Bleak just embarrassed himself trying to defend Jay-Z. Oh, you saw it too, Markeith? You know what's funny though, Markeith? A lot of people, go look at the comments section. A lot of people was like, yeah, I'm with Bleak on the low. I'm with Bleak. There's a lot of people like that. I thought it was embarrassing, but I'm coming from a different mindset. I'm so far behind, y'all. I'm gonna scroll in a second. I just wanted to answer this. Robot Scott said, I heard a wild news item about Boosie Badass getting ripped off trying to get a presidential pardon, and my brain just went into shutdown mode. Mine too. This has been coming across my feed, but I didn't see it on any reputable site. So I don't know if it's true or not. But apparently Trump was selling pardons, which, if true, for a president is right up there at the top of the most corrupt things I've ever heard in my life. Don't know if it's true. And apparently Boosie paid $600,000 and didn't get what he paid for. This is what they're saying, but I don't know if I haven't seen a reliable source on this. But when I did see that, I was like, wow. Wow, wow, wow. All right, I'm gonna scroll down because I'm too far behind to even have a good conversation. I hate that I have to do this, but Bobby W says you haven't met Curtis Blow. What? Yes, he's really cool. Really cool. If I had info on him, I would love to get him on this channel. Not to talk about rap. I want to talk about Curtis Blow, the producer. He was producing Run DMC, the Fat Boys. I would love to get him on here. He worked with Larry Smith. Super cool guy. Matter of fact, I can't see the day that I took my Jimmy Spicer picture, I believe it's right there. That party was a benefit for Jimmy Spicer. He was trying to raise money for medical bills, and I went to that party. Shout out to Zulu Jeff for putting it together. And Curtis Blow was there. That's the last time I saw him. Kurt Blow was there. T-Ski Valley was there. The Crash Crew was there. They all performed. I saw the Crash Crew do Walking Down the Street with your box in your hand. I saw them do that live. I lost it. Cool Rock Ski from the Fat Boys was there. I talked to him for like an hour. Bunch of people was there. I can't remember. Oh, everybody from that era, not everybody, but a lot of people from that era was there. And Kurt Blow was there. So to answer your question, yes, I've met the great Curtis Blow. Um, oh, Mr. Boricua, I didn't see this till just now. Sorry. Um, KP, you said video killed the radio star. Yes, true. But I say YouTube podcast killed hip hop. Why rhyme when you could just talk ish back and forth, aka Dame, Fat Joe, all of them? It seems to be a nice place to go after your rhyming career. Maybe not over, but as a stepping stone. Same way like a former basketball player becomes an announcer. There's a nice check there. And a lot of them have podcasts too. But yeah, there's a lot of money in these podcasts. Between sponsors, some of them have whole corporations behind them, like Drink Champs and like Fat Joe and Jada and all them, big money behind them. And to be on these shows as a guest, a lot of these guests get paid big money too. So there's a lot of money going through these podcasts right now. He said podcasts killed hip hop. Are you saying that if there wasn't for podcasts, rappers would be forced to make more music? He said, why rhyme when you can just talk ish back and forth? I don't know. That's interesting. It remains to be seen. Like if rappers were forced to have to continue to make records in order to eat, I wouldn't want that to be true. But if that was the case, where that was the only outlet to make money and you were forced to rhyme, then we'd get more music. So that, yeah, I'd agree. Trump is a real New Yorker and you guys hate on him crazy. Trump doesn't get hate from New Yorkers because, I mean, him being New Yorker is neither here nor there. Like, Trump has so many other things about him other than being a real New Yorker that you almost forget he's from here. There's so much about Trump, whether you love Trump or hate Trump, there's so much about him that being a real New Yorker is not a reason why New Yorkers hate on him. Um, Damn, this thing just jumped over a bunch of comments. Kennard Roberts, KP, is Chris a Seattle Seahawks fan? He has a shirt on in the Hill video. I can guarantee you that he's not a Seattle Seahawks fan. Chris is not really a sports fan like that. He knows like a couple things here and there, but I guarantee you he's not a Seahawks fan. Probably just a dope. He probably just saw a dope shirt. What did Jay-Z say that Memphis Bleak was defending him? I missed it. Oh, wow. You missed a lot. Basically, go back and listen to Jay-Z's freestyle, the last one that he did when he's talking about Target and Colin Kaepernick. That freestyle is what Memphis Bleak was defending. Boosie called Gucci Mane a snitch, but he did the same thing. I said, I don't really follow Boosie and Gucci Mane like that, so I really don't know. Vlad must be breaking Boosie off for real. Vlad is breaking everybody off. That's why he has guests, recurring guests, recurring guests. Um, it's a lot of money, man. You know, thankfully for me, all of the guests that I've had on the show, haven't had a guest in a while, all the guests that I've had on the show came on here just on the strength, didn't ask for no money, didn't ask for nothing, just to talk out of just love. And I appreciate all of my, mostly my DJ friends and producer friends, but they all came on to just kick it with us. And I'm so grateful. Oh, Markeith, this is wild. Thank you for bringing this up. I saw this. Funkmaster Flex, enough payola drama. Got beef? Yeah, there's beef. Well, first of all, I think the beef goes back to, I think it was last year, DJ Enough got unceremoniously relieved of his duties at Hot 97 after, what is it, 25, maybe 30, I'm going to say almost 30 years, maybe 20 something on the radio. He got relieved of his duties and he didn't even know it was coming. And then they say Funkmaster Flex filled in his role real quick. So he feels that Flex got him fired. So Enough was going on outlets saying Flex got him fired. And Enough was on the air crying. It was a whole thing. Like, he was very upset. Shout out to DJ Enough. That's my homie. I think I got a picture with him. I think it's on my Facebook page. Me and DJ Enough. Last time I really saw him. No, I saw him after that, but one of the times I saw him, I was walking right past Hot 97 and he was coming out and we flicked up. For those that's not on my Facebook page, DJ Kenny Parker on Facebook. I have a bunch of pictures on there that's not on my Instagram. Anyway, and I knew DJ Enough from before he was on Hot 97 too. But he feels that Flex got him fired. And so Flex is saying, I did not get him fired. But that was like last year. Now, something new must have happened because all of a sudden, Flex posted yesterday this whole rant saying, basically, I got you fired, and like with a laughing emoji, and then went on this whole list of how Enough was getting payola, and he was naming names like, you took this amount of money to do this, you took that amount of money to do that, and this and that. Now, that's wild because, first of all, payola is illegal. That's a federal crime. And if you get caught taking money to play music on the air, you are going to jail. So to accuse somebody of that is not only serious, but to rat somebody out. If it's true, then I guess Flex would be considered snitching. And shout out to Funkmaster Flex. That's my man too. I'm not trying to get in the middle of none of this. But I'm just saying, Flex, that's wild. If what you're saying is true, and you put that out there like that, that's wild. Shout out to my man Jetta, who's always getting on me about snitching. That is wild to put that out there. Because if somebody wants to do an investigation on that, Enough's going to jail. So this remains to be seen. I didn't see what the rebuttal is, but that's crazy. And I also said on Tuesday, I believe that Jay-Z brought up Colin Kaepernick and the whole Target thing is because Funkmaster Flex, once again, went on a whole rant last week about Flex, Jay-Z, Colin Kaepernick. When Flex said Jay-Z had his people calling him, saying, give him a chance before you start this and give him 6 months to see what he's going to do with the NFL. And like Flex had all this stuff he was saying, a wild rant, and he destroyed Charlemagne. And I think that's one of the reasons people keep saying, why did Jay-Z bring this up now? Why bring up Kaepernick? I think it's because of Flex. And now this is crazy. I have no information about none of this. I'm watching this unfold like everybody else. This is something I'm going to be on top of because um, that's something that I would find very interesting. Um, I scrolled down, so I missed a lot of you guys' comments, but I'm trying to catch up a little bit. Uh, Derek Franks, what up? Says KP, any truth to the rumored KRS Rakim, Kane, and G Rap collab? I talked about this a few months ago when that was out, and it was like a whole thing. Everybody was talking about it online. I went to the source and asked, and at that time, this was about 5, 6 months ago, maybe a little more, when they were talking about that. I asked Chris, he's like, I have no idea what they're talking about. No one has come to me about none of that. So that was just a rumor. Somebody spread some rumor or pitched the idea, spread some rumor, and it took a life of its own. And like I said, for KRS Rakim and Kane and G Rap to get together, that would take years for them to record that album. Logistically, I said that before I talked to Chris. I said logistically, I just don't see that happening. But what Chris said, no. So as of a few months ago, he said no, and I have not seen anything that would change my opinion on that. Dave Rose and Kenny on Cool G Rap Road to the Riches. What was making that ching-a-ling sound? I guess you mean the pianos? That is a sample. I think that's the Billy Joel. You'd have to ask Marley Marl. He's the one who produced the record, but I believe it's a Billy Joel sample. Shout out to Billy Joel, the great Billy Joel. Yeah, that's a Billy Joel sample, but I don't know what sound you're talking about. Clowns, what up? Hey, Boogie said, Flex been crashing out lately. Yeah. I don't know where it's coming from. I saw Flex about 3 months ago at the KRS show when he was in New York. And me, Flex, Buckshot, and Peter Guns talked for like an hour and a half about hip hop and back in the day. Just real good conversation. Just a bunch of dudes catching up and just talking. And I posted the pictures on, or one of the pictures I posted on Instagram. I'm cool with Flex. I'm cool with Enough. Actually, I would say I know Flex a little bit more than I know Enough, but I know Enough too. Like we all good peoples. All the DJs know each other in New York from back in the day. But this is gonna be really interesting. Ilroy the MC, what up? Anyone who appears on Vlad is immediately put into my government police ops file. Vlad swears up and down that he's not an informant, although he says people rat on themselves and say things. And he has said that law enforcement has come to him to get videotape of people on his show to use in court. So you got to be real careful what you say on these outlets. Even me, like I said, I got to be really careful what I say on here because I might say something that causes me to either get in some problems with somebody or law enforcement, even though I don't think I'm doing anything, but who knows? Benny Doyle says, Kenny, I met Sugar Ray Richardson back in the day, and all he wanted to talk about was how sorry he was for being cold-shouldered to his favorite DJ. Yeah, right. I mentioned earlier in the show that I met a basketball player who was, I met a few basketball players that act funky. I'm not going to say their name, but Sugar Ray Richardson from the Knicks, great player who should have been a Hall of Famer, but his personal life, personal problems ruined his career. He was a mini Magic Johnson. When the Knicks won the championship last month, and my man Daryl, for those who have the book, my man Daryl called me up. We both was practically in tears. And we was like, yo, remember when we used to be in my backyard when we was kids and we used to be the Knicks? And I used to be like, yeah, I was Sugar Ray Richardson. I remember like everybody back then was trying to be Dr. J. Everybody in the park was Dr. J. I'm Dr. J. And I was like, I'm Sugar Ray from the Knicks. He was my guy. And I met him a couple times when I was in college, and he acted like an asshole both times. And I was like, damn, man. Never meet your heroes, y'all. Oh, let's see. Um, Jeremy Woods, KP, did you ever meet Diamond Shell? Wow. Shout out to my man Diamond Shell. I've hung out with Biz. There's times with me and Biz, I would see Biz somewhere, we catch up, and he's like, yo, let's hang out for the night. And I'd end up being with Biz for like 2 or 3 days in a row. He would not let me go home. And I remember one night I was chilling with Biz, and in the morning time came, and we went out to Long Island to Biz's mom's house and had breakfast at the table, eggs and stuff. And Diamond Shell was there, Biz, me. Like there was pictures of little Biz as a kid on the table, on a dining room, like, you know, off to the side there. Like I was in his crib eating. That's my man, Biz. I miss him so much, man. The funniest dude I ever met in my life. But to answer your question, did I ever meet Diamond Shell? Absolutely. Shout out to Diamond Shell. Ilroy the MC. I do my dirt, but I keep it to myself. Don't speak on record on no one else. Think about it. When you do crimes, you talk about it. Hell no, you keep that real shit on the low. I forgot who said that wrong. Did Chris say that? He said real bad boys move in silence. I've seen so many people say that line or some derivative of that line in hip hop. I'm like, damn, KRS, that's a KRS line. But anyway, yeah. Let me tell you something. Some of the most dangerous people I've ever been around or heard about or seen in real life be real quiet, man. The loudmouth dudes who make all the noise and want to get in a fight, and you know, it takes 10 people to hold them back and they going crazy and all of that. Those don't be the guys. It be the quiet ones. They don't say nothing. They don't be talking, man. They just go in. If you ever get in an argument with somebody and they just go, all right, and leave, Run. I'm never scared of a loud mouth. Mm-mm. It's the quiet ones, man. The dudes you never expect. When you see an entourage of dudes, you always see the dudes with their chest poked out, walking all tough. They ain't the ones. It's the one that's quiet, just there. Look out, man. That's just my experience. Um, let's see something. I think this thing is not. Oh, here we go. Clowns. Thank you so much. KP, did you ever meet or play against Jamal Mashburn, or was he after you? He's from the Bronx, I think. No, he's after me. Shout out to Jamal Mashburn. Great basketball player. Never met him. I seen him in person. Um, when I think about Jamal Mashburn, do you remember the game where they said was the perfect, one of the greatest college basketball games of all time? I think it was Duke against, who they beat? Was it UNLV? It was in the Final Four of the Elite Eight when Christian Laettner hit that shot. Grant Hill threw him the ball from three-quarter court, and he caught it and turned around and made that jump shot but it was Kentucky. It was Mashburn. And he made that shot. I think Christian Laettner had like a perfect game. He made every shot, including the game winner. What's lost in that game was how great Jamal Mashburn was in that game. He was balling. I was at an NBA party in what year the Knicks went to the championship. It was 94, and the Knicks had just beat Houston to go up 3-2, and we all knew the Knicks was going to win the championship. And there was a party at Tavern on the Green in Manhattan, real fancy. For those that don't know, that's one of the most prestigious eateries in all of New York, in the world. Tavern on the Green in Central Park. They had a party there, and all the basketball players who were at the Knick game went to this party. Of course, I was there because I had to be in every party. And in this party, I remember the Knicks walked in, and everybody was going, "Go New York, go New York, go!" And everybody was screaming. And I remember being mad because Charles Oakley and Otis Thorpe walked in together like they were friends. And I remember like, these dudes just, like, we hate Houston right now. We're trying to win a championship. Them dudes just beat each other's brains in. And they walked in the party just chilling. That threw me off. And I remember in that party, all these NBA guys were there, and Jamal Mashburn, I believe, came in the party. And I was like, oh shit, there go Jamal Mashburn. And it was ill, but I never met him or played against him. Let's see. How far behind am I? Falling behind once again. I love Flex's courage. Most people are scared of Jay-Z because he's very powerful in the industry, but there's some people whose spot, you can't move them off their spot. And Flex being one of them. Joey Joe says, Memphis Bleak knows to never bite the hand that feed you. Yeah, it could be that. Like I said, I don't know the man. It could be that, or it could be what he said he really believes. He said some, to me, disappointing things for me. I don't know if he's just regurgitating talking points. If so, I don't think he did a good job. Let's see. Jackson Wagner, KP, I think Nori was pissed about a list he saw with DJs' names and how much they need to pay for play. He brought the list to Flex's attention. That's where the names and money come from. Oh, so Nori ratted him out. Yeah, I mean, for those that don't know how the music industry worked, this is going back to the 50s with the mob. Once it's understood that there's a correlation between the amount of radio play that you get and the amount of records that you sell, dudes started paying guys and guys started taking money to play records. And because you got to imagine, there's only so many slots. I think there's like a radio playlist has like 30 slots in a day, 30 songs that come on in a day. I think 10 of them are what they call like heavy rotation. That means this record's coming on every hour. And then like the next like 15, something like that, is called I forgot the name of it. I'm gonna say middle rotation. That's not the word, but medium rotation. And these records probably come on every 2, 3 hours. And then like the last 5 at the bottom are light rotation, meaning they probably come on once a day in the daytime. So you got like 30 slots and hundreds of records coming. So who's deciding all these records? How do they get filtered out? Now it's supposed to be program directors and DJs are supposed to sit there and listen to the music and pick which ones they think are the best songs for the public. But of course, once you put greed in the middle of it and money, that's not how it's going to go down. So then this thing payola came about. And one of the biggest DJs, radio DJs of all time, his name is Frankie Crocker from New York City. Back in the 70s and early 80s, he was the biggest DJ, one of the biggest of all time and most influential, got caught taking money and went to jail for that. Frankie Crocker was so big, he could make or break a record because his audience was so big that if he played your song and said, this is a good song, that was the stamp of approval. He was so big that in Rapper's Delight, they said Frankie Crocker in stereo. That guy, rest in peace to him, was one of the famous guys that got caught. And Elliot Spitzer, when he was governor or running for governor, did a whole campaign and brought a lot of fines to a lot of record companies for paying payola. He did a whole investigation and caught a lot of people. And I think that's the reason why he got brought down, because he pissed off a lot of people. I say all that to say, payola's been going on for a long time. And in hip hop, a long time. And if you look at my Red Alert interview, if any guys that didn't get a chance to see it, go check it out. I talked to Red Alert about payola. And Red Alert was famous for not taking the money. Red Alert would not take anybody's money, and he would not play a record if he didn't like it. He didn't care who you are. And I talked to him about payola, and he talked about a couple of people that was on the take. Very interesting. And I've heard other names too. I'm not going to say the names because I don't have proof, and I'm not trying to snitch, but dudes have taken money. Now, I remember one time when Heather B, shout out to Bully B, was signed to MCA. And I went up, this is 98. I went up to MCA and I was talking to a guy who did promotions. And he was talking about how much money it costs to break a record around the country. And he was saying to me that you have to pay the big radio stations like Hot 97, you got to pay those DJs, the big station, LA, that's another chunk of money. The record companies are paying this now. A chunk of money goes to LA, a chunk goes to New York, a chunk goes to DC, Chicago. Now he's like, even the smaller cities like a Fayetteville, North Carolina, and he said the word Fayetteville, a small city like that. He said, even in a city like that, there's some DJ who's the hot guy who can make or break a record. And when you're trying to get spins, You need every spin you could get. So even a guy, and he said in Fayetteville, North Carolina, there's a guy with his hand out saying, I need $1,500. He said the word 1,500 to me to get to play a record X amount of times in Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's one city in one state, and there's 50 states. So that shit adds up crazy. So basically, everybody was on the take, just about. Not everybody, but a lot of people. So when you're an artist and you're trying to work your record, you're trying to come out, and your record company either doesn't have the money or won't pay the money, and so your record doesn't blow and your career is over, it'll make you mad, man. I could see Nori being pissed, but I'm still surprised that if this is true that Flex told, that's wild. We are in overtime, y'all. It's 9:36. For those that's new to the channel, anything after 9:30 is considered overtime. This is the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please hit the like button, as Tracy always reminds us. And big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. And normally what we do is scroll all the way to the bottom, which I'm going to do in a second. New rumor is a Jay-Z Nas album. Any thoughts? I haven't heard this rumor, but that would be crazy. A lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. Nas just did an album with Preem. Tracy said 61 likes, 112 watching. Please hit the like. It's a free way to support the channel. Yes, thank you so much. KP Flex said conspired with Angie to get Red Alert off the Hot 97s. I guess you mean enough. I've heard of rumors that I'm not even gonna say that because it's a rumor and I don't want to put that out there. I don't know. I've heard something. I haven't heard Angie's name in it, but shout out to Angie Martinez. I haven't seen her in decades, but man, I hear things. I don't like to run with stuff I don't know for sure. Flex saying enough took payola is like calling the kettle black. I'm gonna move right past that, Joey. 414 Top says, how's the air over there, KP? Be safe. Yeah, it's a lot better today than it was yesterday. Yesterday, the whole sun looked red. It looked like crazy. Yesterday, the air was very dangerous, and this morning, very dangerous. I was outside too. Today, I tried to not go out as much, but yesterday, I was outside. But thank you so much. Yeah, Tybo said the air is better today. Yesterday, you could look at the sun and it looked like it was the moon. Yep. The smoke was so thick. Yep. Cameron really stole the beat for Old Boy from Just Blaze. I don't know. I asked Just Blaze to come on the show. He said yes. I got to follow up with that. Quite a few people have said yes, but then when you follow up, who knows what happens, scheduling. I need to double back. I keep saying I need to double back around to the people that said yes. Just Blaze would be great to come on here. I didn't scroll down to the bottom either. KP, what number did you wear at Lincoln, and was that the number given to you, or you picked it? No, numbers were given to us then. They had uniforms that been there for 20-year-old uniforms when I was there, and you just took a uniform. I think my home uniform was 14, and my away uniform was 41. was 14 and 41, I believe. There's a picture of me in my Lincoln uniform. Is it on Facebook or did I take it down? I think I took it down. I'm not sure. Any DJ Kool Herc stories? Never really chilled with Kool Herc like that. He was always nice to me when I seen him. I got a picture with Kool Herc last time I saw him, which was like 7, 8 years ago. But I never chilled with Kool Herc. My brother is very close with Kool Herc. Let me scroll down to the biz item. Let's see. Rod Justice says they just cheated for Caitlin Clark. Damn, I hate this game. I didn't see it, and I gotta see this. Oh, that's gonna tear Twitter up. Lindell says, KP, enjoying the book. Thank you so much for purchasing the book. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Won't ask questions about it till I'm done. Got to get back to work. Peace. And we've done 2 book chats on this channel. So after you finish the book, watch the book chat because a couple of questions that you might have, we might have gone over in great detail in the book chat. Let's see. How far? I'm a little behind, but Isaiah says, KP, the music industry is worth $1 billion. More than that. Rap music by itself was $1 billion industry. Let's see. A Boogie said, Chief Rocker, Frankie Crocker. Yeah. He used to, his last song at 8 o'clock used to be, there I go, there I go, there I go, there I go. What was it? King, what was his name? Moody's Blues. King Moody, something Moody made that record. And I can remember being a very little young kid sitting at the dinner table, my whole family, and the radio would be on in the background, and you knew you hear, there I go, there I go, there. That means it's time for you to go to bed. I says, KP, rappers nowadays have recording studios at the house. Nowadays, you can make a record on a phone that sounds better than some of the records that were made back in the day. Yeah, going to the studio. Most people make records in their crib now and go to the studio to mix. Even though you can mix in your crib, it's almost you'd be very only a real trained ear could probably tell a difference between a song mixed in a house and a song mixed in a real studio. Payola on some mafia-ish. Yeah, they probably invented it. Let's see. Henry Zill says, shout out to Red Alert for that. Yeah, shout out to Red Alert for keeping it 100. He's a real DJ and a real man. And I asked him, if y'all didn't check video, I asked him how much money you think you lost? He's like thousands and thousands of dollars. Keeping it real. Big Red was handing out payola in the 5 Heartbeats. First of all, 5 Heartbeats is one of the dopest movies ever. I'm so sad that I didn't see that in the movies. And the reason why I didn't is because the trailer was whack. I had no idea how dope that movie was. If I had have known, I would have went and paid my money to see it. But the trailer made it look stupid. I was like, I'm not going to see this. Great movie. Speaking of Big Red and Bully B, when Heather was signed to MCA, at that time, the singer Jeff Red Um, you know, who made you called and told me. That guy was an A&R at MCA. I remember we used to be up at MCA. We used to come into his office, and Heather used to just mess with him and call him Big Red from the Five Heartbeats. And she used to be in there. What's up, Big Red? Your office hours are 9 to 5. And keep in mind, she barely knew him. Like, this is like the second time she saw Jeff Red. She just decided to go in on him. Heather's wild, man. Let me scroll down a little bit. Jack Swag says at least 100K to 150 to break a record, allegedly. Yeah. And imagine there's other people with more money. So they 100, 150, and somebody else come with 200. So now you're like, damn. It was real nasty back then. Real nasty. Radio suckers never play me. On the mix. They disobeyed me. Whatever. Yeah. Shout out to Chuck D. Let's see. Abel Valdez, what up? Kenny, you should get these shows listed on Spotify as podcasts. I really should. That's something I need to look into. I'd have to probably go back and give a title of what exactly we were talking about, which who knows? Yeah, you're right. We are in overtime, y'all. This is the Kenny Parker Show. I'm still a ways back, but I'm just trying to catch some of these kind. After you finish high school, did you ever go back to watch Marbury or Telfair? No. Back in that time, we were so busy on the road. I never got a chance to watch Steph or meet either one of them. For those that read the book, you know, I played with Marbury's older brother. What up, Corey Flood? Yeah, Jason West says, I blame Benny Doyle for the Canadian smoke. Yeah, let's blame him. Professor Kenny, is it harder to schedule a guest because you want to interview them live? Why don't you just record the interview like you do with Epic Fails? No, it's harder to schedule a guest because they'll be like, I'll let you know. And you know, you're right, because I could interview a person anytime. I could come on live at any time and interview them. It's more like a soft yes. And you got to turn a soft yes into a hard yes. Yeah, Jeezy. KP Flex said enough and Angie conspired to get Red Alert from Hot 97. Did Flex actually say that? Wow. Greg Ness says Kenny Parker versus Kid Capri in a DJ verse. Kid Capri is the best DJ I've ever seen in my life rock a party. There's no Kenny Parker is not even in the same realm as Kid Capri, man. He's the best I've ever seen, and I tell him that every time I see him. Kenny, do you think Long Island saved hip hop? Some top rappers did come from there. I saw somebody posted something like that today. Long Island made hip hop. I don't think they saved hip hop. I think they were one piece of the the conglomerate. They had some really dope. First of all, you know how I feel about game changing. Two game changing albums came out of three. Three game changing albums that defined the 80s and of all time came from Long Island. Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising. And Paid in Full, Eric B. and Rakim. All of that came from Long Island. I wouldn't say it saved hip hop, but it sure shaped him. You know, and if somebody was saying the title of the guy's thing on YouTube was Long Island Shaped Hip Hop as We Know It Today. And I was like, shaped is a tough word. But now that I think about it, with three, there's not that many albums, I always say, that changed the game. And in the 80s, most of them came out in the 80s, and Long Island got three of them. And that's not counting EPMD. So I wouldn't say saved hip hop, but they made hip hop what it was. Absolutely. Absolutely. You mean Moody's Mood, George Benson? No, 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 not that. Patrick White says Moody's Mood for Love ended the Frankie Crocker show. That's what I think I'm talking about. What was his name? And I have that record. Let's see. We're still in OT. We're just here talking. Jeff Redd discovered Mary J. Blige. I think he did. Poetic says, I noticed, Kenny, out of the blue that a lot of people want to challenge this and battle KRS for different reasons, and some of them is nonsense. I haven't seen that, but I've seen a lot of slander for not just KRS, but a lot of the old school rappers by new guys or newer guys, which I think is ridiculous. I don't know. A lot of hate going on. KP, Alan Freed, the man who invented rock and roll, he took payola and ruined his career. Wow. I think I know that name too. Wow. Bendos Kenny, any idea where PE got that "You're Quite Hostile" sample from? I have a right to be hostile. No, I don't. Sounds familiar though. China Doll, what up? Says I've watched the Five Heartbeats at least 25 times. The Temptations movie. Yeah, Five Heartbeats is that good that you need to watch it multiple times. I slept. Um, what is your relationship with MC Shan? Last time I saw MC Shan, which had to be decades ago, was good. He's always been cool with me, and he's always cool with Chris until he gets on social media, then it becomes something else. For those that have the book, I have a really good MC Shan story in there. Kenny, you gonna love the salute to sample. LL face was scrunched. Word while KRS was rapping, and he was like, this guy. It's titled Where We Coming From. So you don't have to search as BDP isn't in the script. Is that the old one? Because I remember LL didn't seem too happy when his DJ played. He played Champ and then he played Step Into a World, and LL didn't seem too happy. That was like 2 years ago. So you mean the new one? LL still not that happy? Wow. That's crazy. King Pleasure, Moody's Mood for Love. That's what I said. King Moody. KP, did you ever watch the documentary called The Mixtape? The one that KRS is in? I was at the movie premiere. If they were talking about the same one. Um, Benny Doyle says, I like a girl at work. I name dropped DJ Kenny Parker like we were old friends. Works every time. That's dope. Like the Jazzy Jeff barbecue line. Yo, we in there. Excellent. I'm glad that worked out for you. Jason Wall says they didn't find the Zodiac killer. They'll never find out who he really was by now. Don't say never, but it's going to be very difficult after all these years. You guys always bring up serial killers at the end of the show. Because we could talk about I love that subject. And there was two Zodiac killers. The New York one, I told y'all guys my story about how I feel like I dodged the New York Zodiac. I told y'all that. And the most famous one out of off the West Coast, I believe Los Angeles, San Francisco. Dick Clark was taking cash as well. Word, is that true? I mean, I'm sure everybody was. But I love Dick Clark, New Year's Rockin' Eve. I'd be very sad to hear that. LL was born in Bayshore. That adds another one in Long Island's favor. Yeah, but I'm counting LL as Queens. All he reps is Queens. I'm from Queens. She was raised out in Brooklyn. He reps Queens too much to throw him in the Long Island pile. Everything is Farmers Boulevard. Now I'm gonna leave L out of that one. I like MC Shan, however, though he be on some old grumpy man though. Yeah, yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. KP said James Moody. Yeah, I remember the Frankie always playing that at the end of the show. I thought it was James Moody. Maybe it's Kingfish. It's one of those. Robert Charles says, nights like this, I wish raindrops would fall. That's one of the funniest parts out of that whole movie. Oh, I just sung, so now I'm gonna have to hear from Benny Doyle. Kenneth Smith said, no, Kenny, it was a good face scrunch when you like it. LL was loving it. Oh, dope. Thank you. Um, you heard Rakim's new songs? No. Hey, Boogie said, who remembers the Atlanta child murder? Of course. Well, I was saying, why are you bringing this up and it's 10 o'clock? We should do a whole serial killer um episode because I would love to go into all of this. JT says KP, I definitely read it differently. I thought LL was more respectful about BDP and KRS this time. Maybe a touch awkward, but not close to the tension of the old one. Thank you. Yeah. I thought they patched that up or it was I never knew what the problem was from the beginning. We kind of narrowed it down to I think it was about the Grammys. And I asked Chris about that too. I asked him about that whole Grammy thing and LL and the whole thing. Maybe I'll wait for him to come on at some point when he comes back from Europe. and he could talk about it himself. But yeah, there's more to that Grammy story. Oh no, I saw this one. Jack Swagger says Kenny met the Zodiac Killer, allegedly the New York one. Did DB Cooper get away? Yep, he's another one of the most famous whodunits. I think Jack the Ripper is the most famous. He was the first technical serial killer, and I think he's the most famous one that they never caught. I think the Zodiac Killer is up there, and I think DB Cooper is up there. He's not a serial killer, he's a robber, a hijacker and robber. Um, they think they know who he is, but of course, soon as you think it's somebody, then they come up with evidence that it could be somebody else. We are past 10 o'clock, y'all. I'm about to jump off in a hot second. Let me go all the way to the bottom. I'm at the very bottom. Uh, KP says you need to challenge Eric Sermon to a sing-off. After he said, "Hey, Eric Sermon," after that, it was over. Nobody could take that out. Eric Sermon for the win once again. I don't want no smoke. Jason Wall says they had to arrest a black man for the Atlanta child murders, or they would have had a race war in Atlanta. So they had to find a black patsy to take the fall. And I think Wayne Williams was guilty, but I don't think he did all 28. That's the thing. He did a bunch of them though. He was guilty and needed to be taken off the streets. He is a monster, but I don't think he did all 28. I think the Klan has something to do with that too. Another low-key hip-hop singer is Grand Poobah. Yup, he loves to sing on records. I actually talked to Poobah about that years ago. He said he loves old records. We actually had a conversation about that, me and Grand Poobah, about him singing. That's funny, actually. I should put that in for the win. For those that's just checked in, I'm going to do BDP. I have BDP Epic Fails. I'm going to do BDP for the win, a new series, which I'm going to tell some stories that's not fails that were actually pretty dope, things that happened. Um, so we'll see how that works out. You guys talking about Ted Bundy. Um, I just saw something. Oh, Tybo said, nah, this is a new one. But he was saying how he felt when he first heard South Bronx when KRS said, you didn't hear peep from a place called Queens. But he did big up LL in that record. He said, instead of taking out LL, instead of trying to take out LL, you need to take your homeboy off the crack. Every time I seen KRS and LL together, it was always good, man. Uh, oh yeah, Tybo said he said he felt better when he heard him say instead of trying to take out LL. Yeah, I need to see that. I wish I could talk to LL. All right, y'all, I'm jumping off. I keep saying it. VHS Hip Hop, what up? Big up to the Rewind crew. This is the Kenny Parker Show. God willing, we will all be here on Tuesday. And we'll talk then. We really need to have a serial killer conversation on here, man. We really do, because I got some thoughts. I was watching this guy, I think his channel is called Breakfast Cereal on YouTube, and he talks a lot about it. And one of the questions is, where did all the serial killers go? Because it seems to be not a thing now. And they have theories about that. It's crazy. All right, I'm out of here, y'all. Peace.